Just remember this to all you girlies who I don't even really know. And that's actually his last name, not who he is. So, Protege, coaches, bring it. Throw some fire.
Your Protege Challenge number 3 is to develop a value proposition specific to the vertical market or markets that you've identified that'll bring value to you and your prospects going into 2021. You've got 2 weeks. This isn't due till January 9th, so think through this. Take your time. Don't cram it, but also be thorough in what you think. Remember, if you guys are trying to get in my head, you have to remember one thing. I don't want to hear about insurance. I want to understand value proposition and value add for each of the verticals. And truthfully, it can be the same thing with minor tweaks. Don't recreate the wheel 3 times. So at this point, if you want to focus on one and do that, you're golden.
Hey, so what you got, Brady?
All right, guys.
All right,
so,
yep.
Yeah. Would my value proposition be something like this consultation offer where I provide you feedback for your current risk?
Mhm.
That's kind of what I'm struggling with. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So here are the documents that we give in. We have 4 different ones. We have some for contractors, nonprofits, restaurants, and anything automotive. So this one here, you may not be able to see, but it's the inside of a factory, right?
Okay.
So everything is that way. Here's our 7-point service plan that we offer to people. Okay. Some of that stuff you're providing up front, that may be stuff you want to, hey, say, I'm going to provide that at the back end. Okay. Here's our other page here. OSHA record keeping and injury intelligence program. Maintain compliance with OSHA laws. This is all stuff as long as they're filling out their OSHA logs. This just makes us seem like instant credit or create online OSHA reports, track. Then we have workers' comp background checks. These are things that we can check to determine if not. So we're kind of doing that back end process for them. Remember, that's the agent who's getting paid $47,000 a year and is not doing shit because we're going to measure safety. Here's how we're going to do it. Services provided. We'll do your audits. These are all the things, Jim, that your agent should be doing that they're not doing. And then we have each one of those for each type of niche. We think that that's very, very important. I'm just trying to, I hope that's helping you. Maybe that starts to give you some reasons and value points of saying these are things that they have to do and they have to line up that they're tired of doing themselves. You know,
well, that's
you wouldn't
really
believe how much work an HR person has to do to track down claims, and they got so much shit to do. That's why we create risk at voyageseniorliving.com or risk at bickelinsurance.com. And we say anything insurance, you send it to this email and it comes right to me and my team. So those are the kind of things, those are the kind of services you're providing.
Okay. That really helps. So it's not necessarily providing value in content, which it is eventually, but it's, hey, here's how we're going to help lower your total cost of risk, if you will, through these services that we're providing that you no longer have to provide. And then as an agency, we're going off to Xywaiver, Mogic, and using those platforms.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, so I was kind of like looking at value propositions. What I was looking at is focusing on work comp for the industries I'm going after and business income and extra expense. I'm targeting wholesale, janitorial, and manufacturing, light manufacturing here. So my value prop was I was kind of designed it around what I thought would be a good one would be workers' comp, mod analysis, working on workers' compensation, as well as the business income and extra expense. Since, those industries, at least the wholesale and the manufacturing, would definitely need to get it right if there was something that were to happen.
No, I like that.
That's what I was thinking in a nutshell. Any thoughts,
It's not that we have a bunch of companies and we can lower your rate, right? That's not our value proposition, because you're talking about you, you know? Think about this, Bustos, when you think about this. This is push-pull method. Back in the day, in the old school style of selling, before Killing Commercial or things like it, it was, let me push stuff onto you and tell you how great we are and the services we provide. Today, you're doing opposite. You're pulling them into the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing that? I know what your problems are. I didn't go pick everybody that I'm walking down the street with to go see if they can write their insurance. I chose you, and I'm in front of you. Why? Because I know this is important. I'll give you the same advice I gave somebody this morning. You should have your 3 things for why your value proposition is. The reason is, if I'm sitting right in front of you and they say, why should I do business with you? Because I know this is a concern of yours. Am I correct about that? And this is how it affects your business. Well, that is a concern, but not my number. Okay, well, here's another one. How about is this being a concern? How about this being a concern? You should always have 3, right? That, because, dude, if it's your niche, one of those 3 is a major goddamn concern of theirs, right? So then it's like, oh, okay, well, guess what? I've heard that before because we write a lot of them. So yeah, what's up, dude? So what questions you have?
Well, as far as value proposition, I mean, I've got some stuff that I can use in my head. Is he wanting us to tie it back to, obviously, we don't want to speak a word about insurance when we're talking about this. We're wanting to keep it, you know, what would you guys recommend? Do you use, we can do X, Y, and Z to impact your profitability or protect your bottom line, or, you know, I come out from the benefits side.
Why did you select those niches?
Because I have the tools to provide value for those niches.
And you found, and you know their value. Like, one of them is like, hey, they're going to have a lot of explosion in sales, right? Because of this.
Right.
So that could be one of the things that you're using is that,
Okay.
you know, we see that our clients during, because of COVID, we saw this before our clients, and we're now just going to see it be compounded now with
Right.
clients like yourself, who usually when you experience sales, that's usually when you usually experience more payroll, more people, however your positioning is from this thing. You know what I mean?
Okay. Gotcha.
This is what I would do. I would use that same proposition, but tweak it in a couple different ways towards your niches.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep. So a different one for each particular niche.
And in a way, but let's also talk about our total risk. Okay. Our risk is understanding the claims that are not happening that could. Our total cost of risk is understanding the other things you're doing in your business because you're having to compensate or protect yourself, or what you think is happening to protect you from these losses. And then the things that are happening. Go find and read anything where he talks about total cost of risk. That's what he's wanting here, because that's your value proposition. Your value proposition all the time is, I'm more than just, he talked about it on the podcast he did, not last Friday, the Friday before, the common denominator. I listened to that one, and that was good, right? It was, what are these other things that you're doing? Because he said, we all do insurance.
Yeah.
What's your value proposition? He's talking about it in that thing. Right.
Way. Okay.
Total cost of risk. Read anything you see on total cost of risk. And if you can't find something, hit him up and say, hey, where can I find anything? What podcast were you specifically talking about this? Re-listen to those ones and you'll have everything you need. That's the secret.
So this week's challenge is a value proposition for the niches that you're going after. So how's that going? What questions do you have?
Yeah, so like I know like our company, like everyone's got like a mission statement, you know, shit like that. We do have a value proposition here, and I know it's experience because it's always about the client experience, and then off of EXPR, there's like these words, you know, like exceptional this, something that, whatever.
Yeah.
But I know overall we're always kind of valued and centered around like client experience. Digging off of that to these guys, I mean, like just the top of my head, like the couple things we can roll in, or that we always roll in with new clients, is like, all right, we have people that do search tracking, we have the loss control department, we have, you know, market availability, we have the power of, you know, like a March and an Aon, but we're still small enough that we know
Yeah.
who you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the things we roll in with. I'm kind of questioning how to go about this though. Like what I know David, like he likes to go in, like when you guys go in workers' comp or whatever, he's like always looking at the indemnity claims.
Go find
What
everything you can, Robert. It's very simple. Go find everything that you can that Dave has done that talks about being a 5-tool player.
Uh-huh.
Very important, because those are the things that you're going to have as to be strengths that you're going to know make you good with that, with those people, because these are your strengths. But most importantly of all of it, total cost of risk. Go look up.
I was going to roll it to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Go look up anything that he has on total cost of risk and plug that into your niches, and it's going to give you everything you want. That's the value proposition you're going to give them. You were giving them the value proposition of what you guys offer. But first you have to uncover for them what their problems are by helping them with the value. What's value? Well, show us where we're spending money that we shouldn't be. Okay, we could do that.
Right.
Now we have these services that do that and make us just as good as Marsha McLennan. But this right here is actually, this is what we've done in the past. So anything on that, you're going to have everything.
And
And that was going to be my number 2.2 actually. Total cost for risk.
I was going to say, go on the Killing Commercial website, and you can, and he has at the top, like for the blog, which there's a lot of articles there, read those. And then he has the podcasts, and you can kind of go through and find some of the podcasts, but I would start with the blog.
Value proposition. I really overthought this when I don't necessarily say overthought it, but I went the wrong direction. And in my, in my background, I always thought value prop. Hey, what content, what article can you provide? What value can you provide to get that next lead, or et cetera? And I realized, in this process, that's not what we're asking for here. We're asking for, who are you as an agency? Or as a producer, what value do you provide to your potential client? And that's kind of where the COVID insurance, or I guess the COVID insurance high five. It was kind of cheesy, but I thought it was kind of, get it, high five. But here's 5 things that I feel that are value add to my potential clients. And you can see them here, 1 through 5. Number 1, that customized risk analysis and solutions review. What is your total cost of risk, if you will, that total cost of risk approach, and to really say, what products do you need? Instead of just putting together a package that we think they need, and really evaluating the risk. So that was number 1, and then number 2, access to COVID Insurance Risk Solutions Center. We're still working on a name, but again, I didn't want to get caught up in branding and headlines. Obviously, there's many industry resources out there that help provide resources for producers to brand their own portal for potential clients or current clients for risk management. So that's part of what that is. Number 3, in-home care compliance tracking and reporting tool, just another tool inside that Risk Solutions Center. Number 4, an annual workers' compensation analysis and monitoring, that workers' comp modification rate analysis, going in with that and trying to get their attention and how they can manage their workers' compensation modification. So their mod rate. And so that's really what number 4 is. And number 5, claims management and reduction program. So, you really want to see a business owner start squirming in their chair, start sweating. You just start mentioning claims and talking about claims. They fear that because they hear claim, they think cost goes up. Also, it's a potential of a loss of property or an injured employee. So that's obvious. So this is something that, claims manager, it's a comfort thing to bring in here and say, hey, listen, we're going to walk through the claims process with you. We have some tools to help you. And not only that, but we're going to look at your claims and let's help you think through some programs, through some tools we have on reducing claims, so that we're not even have to step through this process. So that's my high 5.
One of the things that I like about Brady is that he is clean and concise in his presentation every single time. It is literally impeccable work product, but the presentation makes it just a completely different level than pretty much anybody else. We've got some really strong people in the competition. He's certainly one of them. But I have to be honest, I am really intrigued and wondering in my mind if the ability to open and close business is going to match the quality of the presentation and the theory behind what he's doing. I really like his branding on this challenge because he goes into total cost of risk, and going through every bullet point that he has tells me that Brady follows a lot of the content that I post and a lot of the same content that I follow online. I know that if he can put this into practice, it is going to yield huge results for him. It works. And even though he thinks it's a little bit cheesy, I kind of like the high five approach. I think you could do a lot with marketing and branding around that. Brady definitely could have gone deeper, but I understand the reasons why he didn't. He needed to keep it clear and concise because I asked them to do that. So he did a great job of taking something that was probably much larger than what you see today and condensing it down into something that makes all the sense in the world. 2 pages. I mean, I don't know what else I could ask for. And if you take the time to pause the video and read what he has put together, you're going to learn something from Brady with this.
Hey, my name's Derek, and I sell the cheapest insurance around. Can I get you a quote? Is what you don't say when delivering your value proposition. Now, what I've done is I have created several different value propositions to fit the mold of each of my target markets moving into 2021. Come take a look. Workers' compensation. Hey, David, it's Derek over at Danzig, and I help businesses identify and control their work comp issues in order to maximize profitability. What's that? Bind the policy now? Will do. Auto dealers, power sports dealers, and implement dealers. Hey, is this Donnie Dealer? Hey, Donnie, it's Derek over at Danzig. Donnie, I help dealers identify and control risk issues in order to improve your margins and maximize your bottom line. Work 60% of the time, every time. And my benefits value proposition. Hi, is this Betty Benefits? Hi, Betty. This is Derek over at Danzig. Betty, I help businesses execute a multi-year cost containment strategy in order to control their second largest business expense. What's that? You want the AOR today? I'll get it done. Every time. I feel the value proposition is one of the most important things to develop your business around. I'm pretty confident with these value propositions moving into 2021, and I look forward to trying these out. Keep you guys updated on how that works. In the meantime, kill or be killed. And until next challenge, V4D. Hayden out.
I like Derek Hayden a lot. He is the prototype of someone that I would bring in to be a producer at Florida Risk Partners. However, in this challenge, I think Derek has put himself at risk because he oversimplified things. He left me with so many questions about what his value proposition is actually going to be that I just don't even know where to begin. I really would have liked to have seen Derek do something more in terms of drilling down and talking about exactly how he's going to do what he says he's going to do. Define that. When you talk in general strokes, you confuse people. You confuse your prospects. You confuse your clients. Heck, I'm confused and I know what the whole competition's about. I created it. So I really, really hope that Derek stays on track and can survive this week, because honestly, I'm worried that this might put him out. And I know he's capable of winning the whole flippin' thing.
The value proposition that I came up with to answer that question, you should do business with me because, goes like this: taking good businesses to great through managing total cost of risk. Taking good businesses to great through managing total cost of risk. Now, why did I choose that? And that was the process I went through. Well, and you can see here, I wrote a lot of different things down, brainstormed. I was emailing myself constantly for the last 2 days, trying to come up with new ideas. There's a popular book out there called Good to Great, written by James Collins, that a lot of business owners have already probably heard of or read. All businesses want to be great, right? They don't want to be good. They want to be great. And the total cost of risk, that's a good conversation to start with that leads down a lot of different paths that achieve what I want to achieve in the end. So, for example, spending the time and money to become OSHA compliant when it comes to COVID or pandemics is going to take time, which is also money, right? Ignoring compliance issues and potentially getting fined, well, that's a risk they can take. Again, back to the total cost of risk. And so is experiencing a reduced production due to their workforce being either sick due to the pandemic or quarantine. So work comp, that has to do with a cost and avoiding risk. So anyway, there you go. My value proposition is taking good businesses to great through managing total cost of risk.
For Jason Webb's value proposition presentation, he left me a little disappointed, just like Derek. I'm concerned because he didn't really tell me what he's going to do. I mean, I can understand that you want to take good businesses to great, but how are you going to do that? I get the keywords, I get the statements that are made and all of that, but those are really sales strategy and sales psychology type things, not necessarily a value proposition. Just like Derek, I'm concerned for Jason this week because honestly, he answered the questions even less than what Derek did, and his was already watered down. So far of the presentations that I've looked at, only one of them has hit the mark, and that's Brady. These other two guys both have the potential to win the whole competition, but they really got to up their game. I'm extremely concerned for Jason this week.
So going through, I've never targeted these areas before, so the key was to kind of see where their pressure points, their pain points may possibly be, and then coming up with a plan that can help solve those problems or help them solve those problems. The first one I decided to go after, especially for the wholesalers and the manufacturers, was developing or updating a business continuity plan. This is going to help them put the safeguards in place that they know exactly what's going to happen if there is a huge loss to the business, whether by fire, wind damage, things like that. Part of that is going to be coming up and doing a business income and extra expense worksheet. So they're going to have to dive into their financials and come up with the actual numbers that they're going to need to get back on their feet, to rebuild, and all those things. Some businesses may take a little longer than a 12-month, which is standard in the business. So part of my job is going to focus and see if that's what it really will take to get that business back up and running. Identifying if we need to go extend it from the 12 to the 18 or even 2 years to put that business continuity plan in place, and then putting the insurance in place to protect that business. The second one of my value propositions that I thought was very important for both the wholesalers and manufacturers, but also for the janitorial industry, was going to be workers' compensation. That is key. So I thought the value proposition should be coming in with a MOD analysis, identifying where they're at, where they could potentially be, and then come up with a plan of action to help get them there. Workers' comp is key. And if you get out of control and you have multiple claims, it can really have a huge impact on these business owners' bottom line. So by focusing on the mod analysis, coming up with a plan of action, and creating programs such as a return to work program, effective return to work program, we can really do a good job and help these business owners, their business grow. They know exactly what to do if there is a loss, and then help them, put them in a better place.
I'm going to go ahead and get this out there now. I like Joseph Bustos. This is something that is so foreign to him, something so unfamiliar, yet every single week he is giving it 110%. That's a guy that I want to take to battle with me every single day. I like the fact that he took the time to research. When I bring producers into Florida Risk, that's one of the things they have to be able to do is research. Now with Joseph, he's looked at a couple different things, and I appreciate what he's done. He's come in and he's used software that his agency has provided him to put together a services portfolio for experience modification factor analysis and control. He has done an exceptional job of putting something in place and getting it to where a prospect can touch it and feel it around the experience mod. Truthfully, he could probably stop right here because he has 20 pages that he can leave behind, collated in a nice folder, and he's definitely going to get people's attention. But he didn't stop there. He also identified business continuity planning, and as somebody who's in Florida, I definitely understand how important that is. But for him to recognize that this is something critical that everybody in his vertical markets should do really makes me feel good, because that tells me that his research has paid off. If there was anything at all, and I need to be critical to a certain degree because I like Joseph enough, I want Joseph to get better. And so what he really needed to do to make this just a perfect presentation is he needed to personalize it. What does Joseph bring to the table? What is Joseph's value proposition? How is Joseph going to communicate this to his prospects? What specific things is Joseph going to do? How is Joseph going to assure that those things are done in an ongoing basis? And lastly, how does Joseph communicate that to his clients and his prospects that he's committed to do work product for? Overall, this is a really good job. It's nice to see Joseph back on track, not shooting for 1.5 million in revenue, and he will definitely make it through this week with what he's put together. Right now, he is back in the hunt, and honestly, it goes back to the saying that hard work pays off. Kudos to you, Joseph. I'm really proud of you, man. I know this is outside your comfort zone, but your videos, your work product, and your overall just dedication to making this an awesome experience speaks volumes. Great job.
Food and beverage industry is one of my three target markets. And one of my clients runs a business called Eden, Connecticut. And with the Connecticut Risk Services or Solutions or partners, I see them coming into the play of this as well, of now offering a marketing restaurant consultation service as well. So outside of just insurance, Connecticut Risk is going to bring in revenue beyond insurance. So I will become a partner consultant for select businesses, so restaurants, stay home, contractors. I got to kind of figure out the direct niche of consulting. Maybe it's even working with some contractors and now getting paid off referrals for them to our homeowners clients or homeowners clients too. I don't know. Money's money.
So I'm starting to see a pattern here, and I don't know if it's that I wasn't clear in what my expectations are, or if people just really don't know what a value proposition is. But Ryan Keating has been so on point up until now that I'm just blown away that he didn't get the value proposition thing right at all. I mean, I am really concerned. I've got 3 of the guys that I thought would be going all the way through this and be in San Antonio between Jason Webb, Ryan Keating, and Derek Hayden that are completely off the radar. They have no idea what they're doing with the value proposition. And what I'm concerned about specifically with Ryan is this is just a bunch of taglines, and that's great for marketing and branding. It's good for conversation starting or however you want to use it. But what I needed Ryan to do was tell me, this is what we're going to do to be different. This is how we're going to be different. This is what I'm going to do to execute on all of the things we represent at the point of sale. And right now, just telling somebody that you're rethinking the way you protect your bottom line by winning at risk management, what does that even mean? I mean, I need Ryan to tell me, what are you doing? Why do I need to rethink it? Explain to me what you're going to do that's different than anybody else that's coming in and selling me an insurance product. You can have a catchy tagline, but I've got to have some substance to this. Pet industry, making sure your best-in-class business is rewarded with best-in-class protection for your bottom line. I'm going to be honest. This reminds me of back when I was in high school and I put off my project to the last minute and I just tried to float something by a teacher hoping that it would pass. This one's not going to pass. I'm really worried for Ryan this week. I am really concerned that somebody I identified as a front runner, whether it be Ryan, Derek, or Jason, is going to go home. This just blows my mind. Let's see what happens. It is nice to see Robert back on track this week. I was a little disappointed in how he went through everything last week, but his head is in the right place and his work product is on the right course for him to be successful. Understanding that total cost of risk is going to generate more new business conversations than the simple sale of an insurance product ever will, Robert is hedging his bets and doubling down on total cost of risk. In his value proposition document, he brought up several things that are problems for each of the vertical markets that he is going after. But I would have liked to have seen him get more specific about what he and his firm are going to be able to do to solve those problems. He did the research and he figured out kind of where top loss drivers are and where some hidden expenses are in these companies' risk management programs. But I would have liked for him to give me the solution to the problems that he identified. Overall, I think he's safe this week. He did a really good job of drilling down on this stuff, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings to the table next week. He's back in my good graces.
You know, there's a lot of things that insurance agents and agencies provide on a daily, monthly, biannual, and annual basis that, quite honestly, should be considered as a standard, right? We're even having self-service certificate portals. That's wonderful. Having, assistance with workers' comp audits at the end of the term. Great. We're fortunate to have a learning management system and software that's able to audit experience mods and help with preliminary mods when they come out every 6 months, and really be able to assist with our clients in terms of branding and providing return to work programs that are specific to their company and their industry, and employee handbooks and safety manuals and what have you. Those are all wonderful. And having something like a mod master to be able to audit a mod and have the software to show them tangible evidence, not just, hey, your mod's high, it sucks. Well, I went in another direction. And I wanted to use my experience in my education and how that's going to be able to help the clients that the prospects that I have decided in the verticals that we've looked into and the pipelines we've put together. Well, going back to the education piece of my personal experience in broadcast journalism, we're going to interview our business owners and management and ask them questions about themselves, their business, what, their history, what sets them apart, what makes them different, so we can show that to our community, and we can target them not only on our social media channels, but put a little bit of ad spend money, and nothing crazy, right? Nothing, not hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but we're going to target their audience and who they want to talk to be able to hire their employees and get their message out for them.
I'm beginning to see a trend here, and I think that I have figured out kind of some of where the miscommunication is. See, I used the word value proposition when I issued this challenge. That is, what are you going to do to show value that your firm delivers that nobody else does, specific to insurance and risk management? And we've had some people nail it, and we have had some people just completely miss the mark. And Tim Gould is another one that completely missed the mark. And I'm a little more concerned that he used the terms, "I'm going in a different direction," in his video presentation. Now listen, let me make no mistake about this. If this was about value add, Tim would have me driving the bus. I'd be 100% on board with his strategy, because I do believe that if you do things to feature your clients and your prospects and people in the community and use your platform to share with the world how unique, different, whatever word you want to use, they are, and eventually drive business to them, that is a huge value add. You can do that with video interviews. You can do that by having a local community podcast. And those are things that I actually agree with and subscribe to. However, there is a massive difference between a value add, i.e., interviewing and helping somebody from a marketing perspective, and a value proposition that you're going to articulate at a sales meeting. I cannot imagine walking into a middle market account who's spending $250,000 to $500,000 a year in premium, or even way lower than that for all practical purposes, and saying, "I would love to represent you, and here is how I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a real good interview with you and spread it out to social media and everybody else." I don't know who's going to buy that. And so all of the things that Tim talked about not wanting to talk about, like, preliminary mods and all these other things that we do as part of our value proposition, that's actually the direction he should have gone. He should have talked about what makes his firm unique and go from there. So if I were Tim and I had the background in journalism and broadcasting and all of that stuff, maybe one of the things I would have done is say, we can create a custom learning management program for you. We can create OSHA training for your firm, and then actually create that OSHA training using his broadcasting and communication skills, as opposed to interviewing the ownership. Again, to summarize, I agree with the fact that it's a value add to feature businesses and let them have access to your platform to get word out about them. But using those same skills, I really feel like Tim could have done something much more impactful that would have resulted in property and casualty insurance sales and risk management conversations, as opposed to just basic interviews from a marketing perspective. Again, we're hot and cold this week. The ones that are hot are red hot, and the ones that are cold are ice cold. And unfortunately, Tim just missed the mark on this one.
And this is the third challenge, the value-added proposition for the clients or prospects that I'm dealing with, and then also the value added for me as a sales producer in my agency. The first one is going to be the ability to explain the risk and the options to a client in a very honest and clear way. I think that when you approach it Honestly, there's a real value in being able to calm down prospects who are trying to get a certain type of insurance necessary for bidding a job or meeting vendor requirements. A lot of times it happens where they're shopping for coverage. They don't really know what they need. They just get a vendor packet that tells them what they got to have. So you can't just jump from A to Z and put a client into a policy. You have to sometimes answer questions about that and kind of let them know that it's not about them. Insurance is a funny thing, and a lot of people take it personally when it's not really a personal thing. The second value added is the ability to offer multiple solutions that will provide a solution for their total risk portfolio. I think all too often you see in the market where agents or salespeople find certain things that they like and they kind of tend to just want to do those. And whereas when a client comes in and you want other things, they say things like, I'm sorry, Mr. or Mrs. Client, we don't offer workers' comp here, or we don't offer malpractice insurance here, but I'd love to quote your commercial auto. That doesn't really go over well with a client. It doesn't help to build that relationship. So one of the things that we try to do is make sure that we're able to add all of the different things. By being an independent agent, not being captive, we are able to have appointments and to be able to really offer the total risk solution for a client. The third thing is finding ways to joint market and joint growth with clients. Many businesses in the middle market have the same concerns that we do as business owners and producers. How do I market my business and continue consistent growth patterns year to year? I found that participating in the same activities that your prospects are active in is a good way to market without pressure. Charity events, attending meetings, podcasts, company events where they invite their business partners that they do business with to kind of fill out seats and make the room be fuller. I found that those are great ways to show your support. The fourth thing is having a very nice and friendly professional staff and atmosphere to foster the new relationship. Last one is providing actionable intel regarding business information and resources.
In looking at Tyrone's value proposition, he's kind of 50-50. He's the first one who was really good in some places and way off the mark in some of the other ones. Some of what Tyrone has as a value proposition is actually what I feel is the requirement. So in point number 1, where he's approaching things with honesty and clarity while being transparent is value added, I would say no, it's not. That's the expectation. There's no value add there. That's what people would expect of you. Number 2 on Tyrone's talks about the ability to offer multiple solutions that will provide a solution to their total risk portfolio, which sounds good at the surface, but when you drill down, it's all insurance related. In the middle market, you have to do more than deal in insurance. You have to do more than coverage analysis. And what I would really like to have seen was him continue down that track and say, and identify the top loss drivers that the organization has had over the past several years, and then review the programs they have put in place or have in place to combat that. And if they don't, make that part of the risk management action plan. Make that part of what I'm going to do as a value to them going forward. Good idea here is finding ways to offer joint marketing and joint growth. I think that's similar to what Tim Gould mentioned in his challenge. And certainly there's some value there, but it's not really what's going to get a deal done. And then again, having a nice professional, friendly staff and atmosphere to foster the relationship. Again, that's the expectation. And so I do think, again, providing actionable intel regarding business information and resources, this is something I can get behind. In fact, it's right out of my playbook. Think about when PPP came out. I was on the phone at 7:30 in the morning with the CEO of a local bank to set up a webinar with him and his SBA lenders and got it out to all of my clients and prospects for a live webinar within 24 hours of it being announced. And we were able to bring in almost 500 businesses, not to sell them anything. It was because I wanted to help them connect the people who needed the money to the people who had the money. That my network was part of the value proposition, and that webinar was the value add. Again, I really feel like Tyrone could have given me more here. I think he's safe because he had just enough of the right thought process to get through to next week, but I really need to see him connect the dots and move away from the insurance transaction and more into a total cost of risk thought process instead of total cost of risk as a buzzword.
When we're walking into a new business opportunity, we're leading with the dark web scan and the cyber risk assessment. And the cyber risk assessments basically point out all of the vulnerabilities of a business and kind of put it out on a piece of paper and say, hey, here's what we found. Here's the breaches that you guys experienced. Here's some open breaches that you currently have going on right now. And here's ways to remediate and fix these problems. And then we can also bring in an MSP to help if they don't already have them. Usually businesses that I'm going to be going after that are in excess, of $10-20 million a year in revenue, usually have some internal team that does this, or they already have a third-party vendor assisting them. The good news is this: if they already have an internal team or a third-party vendor and we're still finding issues, it makes us look like the knight in shining armor when we, show them this and they might not be aware, okay? Our cybersecurity platform also includes 24/7 monitoring, automated security alerts, employee training, and security experts to prevent cyber incidents before they occur. One of the cool things is when you buy a cyber insurance policy from one of our providers, they usually do a lot of stuff on the back end that helps the employer help their employees, okay? So they'll send out fake email phishing scams to try and bait employees. And when they click a link, they'll have to take a training course about not doing that again.
As he has done to this point, Justin Sloan nailed this challenge. And the only thing, in the spirit of giving feedback, that I would have liked to have seen from Justin in his video would be to give some examples of some of the common things that these businesses are going to run into, which he did in the SWOT analysis. But then I want him to come back and draw it into, this is how we solve that problem once we identify it. My concern is that he's using a lot of carrier resources, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And the reason why I know that is because he and I use some of the same carriers and same wholesalers for cyber liability and have had experience working with each other doing that in the past. I'm really interested in, though, what Justin is going to do for himself and for BSP Insurance to have a proprietary process and then subsequent value delivered as a result of that. Nothing at all wrong with leaning on the tools that are at our disposal through the carriers already. However, I want to see him take it just a little bit further. And the reason why, because I know he can. Well, as I predicted, I don't have to be the bad guy this week. I got a message from Annabelle that she just doesn't feel comfortable on video, and it's too much for her to deal with going through the holiday season and having family visit and everything else. And unfortunately, that's reality. I mean, that's the life we live as producers every day. I encouraged her to take her time. I gave her extended deadline to get her work product in, and it didn't come in. So unfortunately, Annabelle has resigned her position in the Protege. This is extremely disappointing for me because I was pretty vocal from the very beginning. She was one of those people that I thought had a chance to take the whole thing, and I still think she could do it. But you have to remember, people, today is a video age, and the old school tactics of production, while many of them still work, they're not nearly as effective and don't create as many opportunities as the video, the content marketing, and anything digital does. And the producers that are adapting and adopting are going to outweigh those that stick to cold call marketing and network marketing every single day. Being the Protege is going to require you to develop things organically if you haven't figured that out yet. And I heard Annabelle talk in her presentation that she doesn't really prospect. That's a problem. Prospecting is definitely a tool of a 5-tool player. And at some point, if all you ever do is rely on your network, the leads will dry up. You have to foster your network. You have to cold call. You have to telemarket. You have to be digital. I can go on and on and on. Listen, it's tough for me to let her go because I pulled for her so hard. But I wish her nothing but the best. And I hope that she watches the entire series so she can see what it took to become the protege. This week, we have seen people all over the board, quite frankly, and I'm kind of scratching my head a little bit because even though our contestants aren't necessarily already in the middle market, I'm shocked to find out that many of them don't even understand what a value proposition is. If you're a producer out there watching this, I really hope that you're further along than what we've seen from some of our people in this episode. I really hope that you've taken the time to define who your ideal prospects are, as we discussed in last week's challenge, but also to determine what specific value you and your firm can take to those people to drive new business opportunities for your agency, because after all, that's what we want. I don't know how this thing's going to shake out. I'm really on the fence, and I hope that I don't have to cut somebody because somebody starts to feel the heat and bows out. But at the end of the day, I think that you see the same trend that I do because it's very obvious. Some people get it, some people don't. Some people are adapting and learning along the way. I really hope that we have a good, intact group of people next week, but I got a feeling that's not going to happen. There's an epidemic in the insurance industry today, and it revolves around our inability to effectively craft a value proposition. And honestly, that's kind of a downer for me. I mean, if I can't go out and articulate why I'm valuable to somebody, what am I really doing when I have a sales call? I mean, we have become so accustomed as an industry to selling a product that the art of solving problems has fallen by the wayside. It's been evidenced in this week's challenge on the Protege, but I see it every single day on the streets. And it's something that I think every single one of us should be looking at consciously every day. Here's some things you can do as a producer or an agency principal to begin to deliver value. Number one, represent a certain number of classes of business in your book of business, producers. 3 to 5 at the most. Those are your ideal prospects, and that goes right in line with what we had everybody do in the first challenge. They had to identify who their prospects were going to be. Then we need to find them, and you can go and you can research and find this stuff all over the internet at absolutely no cost, or you can use a paid service, but you don't necessarily have to. Then the third thing you do is you create your value proposition. What is it that is going to make your firm unique compared to your competitors? What value are you driving that they can't get from anybody else? Because the likelihood is, based on this epidemic, you're going to walk into an account that has had zero value given to them over the years. Now, I want you to understand that there is a big difference between a value add and a value proposition. Value adds are great, nice to haves, but a value proposition is a conglomeration of everything you can do for this account, including those value adds, that is articulated at the point of sale. Proposition. It's not an item. It is a conversation. It's how you position yourself at the closing table to get the deal done. And it's extremely important that you make that something you can articulate quickly, concisely, and on a level that your prospects will understand exactly what you're talking about. You can do it with workers' compensation and experience modification factor analysis. You can use safety training and learning management systems. You can use client portals. You can use certificate management. You can use OSHA compliance. I could go on and on and on about all of the things that we do here at Florida Risk Partners to drive value to our clients. But I can't just have those things. I have to know about how to talk to them. I need to know how I can make it to where my prospect understands they need what I have and they're anxious to get it because they're not getting it right now. I need your help. We all need your help as an industry. We have got to get away from the sale of a product and move towards solving problems. And we can't do that until we are able to identify those problems and then provide the valuable solutions to fix them without simply selling them a Band-Aid. On next week's episode of The Protege. So here is challenge number 4.
I zagged when I definitely should have zigged.
Not one-dimensional, not two-dimensional, not three-dimensional, but kind of like four-dimensional, seeing zeros and ones.
We could have something.
So why would anybody pay $7 or $9 for an egg?
Because he's pretty badass, but he ain't Cass.